If you're a fan of the MCU, I hope you are a fan of Kang the Conqueror, because every group, team, subgroup, new team, old team, character, and individual that we are going to be running into will somehow connect to Kang the Conqueror, and today we're going to break down what many have been calling his greatest character flaw. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Cosmic Culture, the channel where we talk all things major movie and television news, theories, breakdowns, and much more. I'm your host Chris, and yes, it is true that Kang is being introduced and integrated into the MCU in a far different way than Thanos originally was. I'm sure you recall from the Infinity Saga that Thanos was several post-credit scenes, and then this ominous figure that was in the background the whole time shot into the foreground, and it turns out everything, including the original Avengers film and the big huge Battle of New York, all had to do with Thanos, who was now here beating everybody up. Well, Kang is taking a different approach. He's showing up very early on. We first saw him in Loki when the multiverse was thrown into disarray. Now, in Phase 5, the very first project of Phase 5, we've been introduced to him yet again in a different form, and have met several other variants as well. But what is it that makes Kang tick? Well, we're going to dive into the comics and what we know about Kang from the movies already, and try to get a better idea of a character who's here to stay. I mean, he's got a movie called Kang Dynasty. If you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our other major movie and television news updates. You can also follow me on my other socials, Instagram at Chris M. Rosser and Twitter at TheCultureChris. Links to both of those can be found in the description down below. Now, before we dive into Kang and his character flaws, go ahead to the comments section and let me know, point blank, do you like Kang more than Thanos so far? And do you think he has potential to be that level of big bad? Now, 100% the answer to that question is yes. He's already more formidable than Thanos, but what you guys think and what you feel when you see Kang is very important to the overall success of the multiverse saga, which many have said may have been kind of a rocky start, not necessarily the best beginning, but I still have a lot of faith in the multiverse saga, and I don't think Phase 4 was a total wash, and I know many of you don't either. So let me know, how do you feel about Kang? Now, I want to jump into the words from Block A, The Conqueror, who dives into a lot of stuff on Twitter regarding Kang. He has a very Kang-centric Twitter. In fact, his handle is Conqueror Comics. So he dives into the comics. He seems to know them very well, and I really like what he says under the title, Kang Will Return. His reign of terror has been postponed. He didn't lose. And then dives into this. You know why Kang lost? The same reason he loses in the comics, his ego. You ever finish a video game and go into New Game Plus feeling like a god among insects? You get cocky and let your guard down until all of a sudden the level 2 enemies are actually starting to beat you. That's what Kang did. Also, he got greedy. He could have hooked up that engine to his chair and hightailed it out of there, but what did he do? He wanted to take his whole army of quantum knots with him. Then, when that didn't work and the portal was open, he could have left again. But what did he do? He wanted to kill Ant-Man. Lastly, this is a movie called Ant-Man and the Wasp. Kang was defeated by a horde of ants evolved with, he says 10, but 100 decades, if you've seen the movie, worth of knowledge and technology, as well as being shot by Wasp. At the end of the day, it's an Ant-Man movie, and that ending was perfectly in line with the rest of the movie. Now, this is an individual who I'm giving credit to know and understand a lot about Kang. That's why I'm referencing to his tweets. I want to give him credit, so I'm not just stealing his ideas, but I do think that they're worth sharing. And instead of creating my own video evolving around what he said, I want to talk about what he says and then kind of spin off of that, just like we did in the last video. And this is an individual with a lot of knowledge of Kang. So, now that Kang might be new for a lot of us, we need to dive in and understand the issue. Now, the biggest complaint from the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the biggest plot hole, people are calling it, is that Kang goes on and on talking about how powerful he is, demonstrating his ability, how he's killed Ant-Man before, how he's killed hundreds of Avengers before, and then loses to Ant-Man like it was nothing. That's the big plot hole. Well, this is explained here very well. It all comes down to that character attribute of his ego, of his pride. He had more than enough opportunities in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania to escape, to get away, as was previously explained, and he chose to stay time and time again. Eventually, his downfall would have been his ego, not actually Ant-Man. He had opportunities to leave and not lose to Ant-Man. And sometimes we think, oh, well, what makes somebody super strong is the ability to just kill everybody. But in reality, it's the ability to survive. So if you have the opportunity, the technology, and the power to leave, but the ego to stay, well, there's your loss. It's very easy to feel like overall that you're running the show, that you're in charge, that you can defeat everybody. You've beaten Ant-Man before, so why not do it again? Well, this is a different Ant-Man. This is 616 Ant-Man, the sacred universe, the sacred timeline, and the multiverse is starting to get a little big and maybe even a little confusing. For those of you who haven't been able to follow the multiverse mayhem or haven't caught all of the different Disney Plus series and movies that have dropped during Phase 4 and now into Phase 5, allow me to explain. The Earth, 616, the sacred timeline, was deemed 616 in Multiverse of Madness. However, that sacred timeline was the only timeline that existed throughout the entirety of the Infinity Saga. Now, we saw during Avengers Endgame that there would be different moments and different events that would cause different universes to start to grow out of that sacred timeline, the timeline where our original Avengers are from. But there was this organization called the TVA, which we discovered in Loki, which we also discovered was being ran by a Kang variant called He Who Remains, who was closing all of these other universes to prevent exactly the creation of more Kang variants. There was a massive Kang multiversal war that resulted in He Who Remains winning and then saving one universe. Now, my assumption is that he came from that universe that he chose to save. However, at zero point was that actually admitted or understood to be true. It's possible his entire universe was in fact destroyed and he found a universe where Kang had already been defeated, and that was the one he decided to preserve. So where is the 616 Kang? Nobody truly knows. But the other thing to keep in mind is now that all of these different universes do exist, we've gotten movies like Multiverse of Madness, No Way Home, and every other multiverse-driven movie that we are seeing. Post-credit scenes like that which we saw in Quantumania with the Council of Kang and different variants of Kang, and Loki and Mobius there trying to figure out if he's the one they can trust. All of these different multiversal details are all possible because of Sylvie killing He Who Remains at the end of Loki. All the same, there are many Kangs. We were introduced to 3 big bad Kangs, as well as the entire Council of Kangs and all of the groups that we saw in the post-credits scene. We were also introduced to Victor Timely, a potentially different variant of Kang. All of this Kang information is going to continue to grow and be shared as we evolve and continue to see more movies and shows. In fact, we just learned today that Shang-Chi 2 will also have different variants of Kang in it, and so on and so forth. As we continue in different projects, we will start seeing that rippling effect of Kang. I'm really excited for how Marvel decided to introduce Kang really early on in the Multiverse Saga, and how eventually the Kang Dynasty is going to happen. The Avengers and other teams and groups will lose to him and them, then they will fight amongst themselves. One king will probably remain, and then we'll head into Secret Wars and maybe get some Battle World storyline as well. Let me know what you think. If this clears up your plot hole for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, understanding Kang is going to be very important moving forward into the remaining parts of the Multiverse Saga. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, thank you to everybody who watched to the very end of the video. If you found it helpful, useful, or entertaining, consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys on the next one right here on Cosmic Culture.